at DCAT, and thank you for joining us for tonight's candidate forum for the Selectmen seat that is open going up into the election on June 2nd in Danvers. So obviously this is a little bit different than how things would normally be in a candidate forum. Usually the candidates would be here, we'd have a chance to all be together in the studio, but with everything going on, like most things, we're doing it over a conference call. But where this is a different kind of campaign cycle, you might not have gotten as much chance to get to know some of these candidates. So hopefully tonight, by the time you finish watching this, you'll have a little bit better sense of who they are, who the people are behind these names that you'll see on your ballot, and what their platforms are. So again, the candidates are Maureen Bernard, Tim Donahue, and Matthew Duggan, and the election is June 2nd. So if you're wondering about the details about how the election will actually work, I'm going to refer you to the town website and the town of Danvers. They can give you the information you need to make sure you can get out and make sure your vote is heard. So for today, we try to keep this pretty strict as far as timing and things like that, just in the interest of fairness. So the way it'll work tonight is each candidate will receive 2 minutes at the start for an opening statement. The order was drawn randomly before our telecast began. And then we also have 2 members of the media who are kind enough to join us today. Ethan Foreman from the Salem News and Tim McCarthy from the Herald Citizen will be asking the questions of the candidates. So each question, once we start, the candidates will have 90 seconds each to answer the questions. That can be difficult. We appreciate the candidates doing this in 90 seconds. I'm sure that if you have follow-up questions for them, they'd be happy to talk to you. So after the question and answer period ends, there will be an additional 2-minute period for closing statements before we sign off. So with that, I'm going to open it up and we're going to take a look at our call and who's on here, and I can give you everyone a quick introduction. So there's me.
There's me, full screen. And we're going to open it up. We have Tim McCarthy from the Herald Citizen. Maureen Bernard is here. She's a candidate. Tim Donahue, another candidate. Ethan Foreman from the Salem News. Matthew Duggan, candidate. And then you'll see on the bottom, unknown caller. That is also Tim McCarthy. So if you see that pop up at any point, that is who is asking the questions under unknown caller. So with all of that, I'm going to actually start with our candidate intros. The first person up for this will be Tim Donahue. So Tim, I'm going to mute everyone else. I'm going to unmute you, and welcome to the broadcast, first of all. And if you want to start with your 2-minute piece, we can go right now. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Greg. So my name's Tim Donahue. I am running for Selectmen. A little bit about myself. I grew up in Ipswich. I went to Bishop Fenwick High School, and I started my career in retail right here in the Danvers Costco. I worked my way up through several supervisor and management positions through that, and another local retailer as well, working in various places all over the eastern Massachusetts. When I also met my wife at Bishop Fenwick, and we got married about 12 years ago. Once we got married right here in Danvers at St. Richard's, we bought the house that she grew up in. A couple of years after that, we had a couple of kids and made the decision when my wife got pregnant, when Melissa got pregnant, that I would stay home and take care of them. At the time, I was, putting groceries on shelves and doing various things like that. And she was a scientist who was saving lives and putting astronauts into space. So it was a pretty easy decision who would stay home and take care of the kids. I had 6 wonderful years as a stay-at-home dad, 2 wonderful daughters that are really growing quite quickly, as everybody knows. And I was working nights and weekends doing landscaping. I had profits double every single year. I had the entire business expand by double every single year for about 10 years now, and have turned it into somewhat of a successful company. Right now, I have a lot of freedom and I have the ability to give back to the town, and that's what I'm hoping to do. I'm hoping to serve everybody here in the best possible way. So thank you, Danvers, and I really appreciate your consideration, and I hope for your vote.
All right, thank you, Tim. So next up on the list, we drew this randomly before. Matthew, you are the lucky second person who gets to make their opening remarks. So Matthew, you can take it away when you're ready.
Okay, great, thank you. And good evening, Danvers. My name is Matthew Duggan, a candidate for Selectmen. A little bit about myself. I grew up in Goshen, New York, which is about an hour north of Manhattan. And I moved to the Boston area after high school and worked in construction for a few years. And then I returned to school. I went to UMass Boston and to Bentley grad school. And I've been in the IT industry, information technology, for more than 30 years and worked for a number of large companies. For the past 13 years, I've been with Hewlett Packard. I support the Blue Cross of Mass website. I moved to Danvers 20 years ago. I live on the corner of Chase and Bayview by Plains Park. And I moved to Danvers because I wanted to live near where I worked. And I was working for Bell Atlantic Yellow Pages up on the hill next to the Ferncroft. And for the past 20 years, I've been involved with the community and here in Danvers, first with the Danvers Bipeds, who initiated the rail trail and the project. And once that came to fruition, then joined the Rail Trail Committee and have been on that for 10 years. Also have volunteered for Danvers Family Festival. And I've been a town meeting member here in Precinct 1 for 14 years. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Matthew. So our next candidate up for tonight and our final one on the opening draw. So thank you for being patient, Maureen. You are up next for your opening statement. You can begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much, Greg. Hello, Danvers. I am asking for your vote on June 2nd as Danvers Selectmen. My name is Maureen Bernard, and a little bit about me is I was born and raised here in Danvers, and I've been living here over the past 58 years. I've raised my 3 children here in Danvers, along with my 3 granddaughters, and I have very strong ties to the community that I love so much. I've worked in the banking industry for over 39 years, of which 31 years was at Danvers Savings Bank, also known as Danvers Bank, which is now People's United. I'm currently a vice president at Salem 5 on 160 Endicott Street here in Danvers. And I have a strong passion with regard to getting people into new homes or refinance and help them save money or do some renovations to the home. I'm a people's person. I enjoy volunteering. Just to name a few, Danvers Kiwanis Club, Mission of Deeds, Danvers Housing Authority, as well as a town meeting member, Precinct 4. I've been on other committees with Danvers National Little League, all the Little League groups, the Danvers Youth Hockeys. I'm very well rooted here in the community. I enjoy walking into the local coffee shops, talking to these people, let it be citizens or business owners, and I'm very much interested in what they have to say regarding the town and its future. I'm a strong supporter of local businesses and schools, first responders. I love Danvers. The opportunity is great for me right now. I have a flexible schedule, and I'm here to help. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Maureen. So at this point, we're going to jump over to the Q&A section. So Ethan, I'm going to unmute you. Ethan is from the Salem News, and he was kind enough to join us. So he's going to jump in with the first question. So the way the order is going to work, for the first question, it will be Matthew first, followed by Maureen, and then Tim. So Ethan, if you want to take it away, now's your time.
Thanks very much, Greg. My question is simple. Why do you want to run as for selectman?
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you're unmuted.
So
Good. Thank you.
Am I okay? So the reason I'm running for selectman is for the past 14 years I've had the honor of representing the residents here in Precinct 1, and I think I've done that in a way that I've represented their points of views and always looked out for their best interests. And by that I mean I go to a lot of different board meetings, committee meetings, selectmen, planning, preservation, traffic advisory, those types of meetings. So I have a good handle on what's going on. So I have a good relationship with these boards. When I speak in front of them, I'm always very respectful and to the point of the matter at hand. So I'm looking to just take it to the next level and represent everyone in Danvers. I think that I have the fortitude and the enthusiasm to do quite a good job at it. So that's why I'm running.
Great. Thank you, Matthew. So up next for this question is going to be Maureen. This one is more of a simple question, but I will just reiterate to the candidates that if you do want the question repeated, a possibility. Maureen, are you ready to go?
Sure. why am I running for selectman? As I had said, I really have a lot of roots in this community. I've been, like I said, a lifelong resident. I want people to have the opportunity that I've shared with myself and my children, with the young kids, the young citizens, because, who knows, someday they might be the next volunteers. I'd like to see people get out there. I think that I'd like to see businesses thrive in Danvers. I'd like to see people buy homes in Danvers, continue to buy homes. I mean, I'm so invested in this town right now that it makes sense for me to be involved, because I've found the time, and I've always find the time to be the voice for you. And if you give me that opportunity, I'd love that opportunity to, go to the committees, go to the selectmen, work with the town manager, and all the other boards, the department heads, whatever I can do to help you, the citizens of Danvers.
All right, thank you very much. So, Tim, the question was why do you want to be a selectman? If you could take it away.
So I'm not going to lie. The idea to be a selectman was not my own. When Diane Langlis decided she wanted to retire, she told a select few people, who then reached out to me and asked me to consider. So while it's not initially something I had thought of, and initially didn't think it was something that I wanted to do, it really is something that I would love, and would love to be able to represent this community. I have great availability. I run my own company. I own my own company, and I am my own boss. So I can leave any time of the day. I can go anywhere I need to. I can be at any meeting I want. And that's what I want to do, is I want to be here to represent Danvers. Danvers is underrepresented from leadership perspective, by people with young kids. My parents are also retiring right here in Danvers, so they just bought a condo in Salem Village. I'm very excited for them. They move in a couple of weeks, the day before the election, and I hope that I can represent every aspect of this community, from young children all the way up to retiring seniors. I hold a great debate with people. I try to research every topic I can. On top of that, I'm out in the community every single day. I'm at people's houses. I'm in people's yards. I'm talking to people. I'm out there everywhere. If you don't know me yet, it's only because you haven't met me. So I'm really excited for the opportunity, and I hope that I can serve Danvers very well.
All right, thank you, Tim. So I'm going to call on the last person who has not been called on yet. So thank you, Mr. Tim McCarthy, for being patient. Tim is with the Herald Citizen, and he is going to ask the second question. So the order for the second question will be Maureen, followed by Tim, and then Matthew. So Tim McCarthy, take it away.
Yeah, hi, sure, folks. Here's my general question, kind of a follow-up from what Ethan asked there. What would you say among your experiences and skill sets set you apart from your other challengers in the race right here?
All right, Maureen, let me just unmute you. Maureen, you're all set.
Thank you very much. Like I had said, I think anyone that knows me from my career, between volunteering, town boards, or as a parent, that I'm always out in the community, always talking with people. I love talking to people. Sometimes I remember when I was younger at work, they used to say, stop talking so much to people. However, if there's questions, I want people to ask the questions to me. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find them the answers. I think what also, me being a particular candidate, is that I've worked in the banking industry for a number of years, that I do know how to look at financials, and I'm always willing to help out. There's other committees, subcommittees, that I know that the board sometimes certain people represent. I'll be willing to jump in and help out as much as I can. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Maureen. So next up for this question will be Tim Donahue. So Tim, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
All right. So what differentiates me from other candidates is I am younger. I am excited to do this. My generation, it's really hard to find time to do anything. You look at most people out there that are, under 40 years old, and they're working constantly and come home and there's not time to do a single thing. So I am owning my own company, as I said, gives me complete flexibility, and I want to be out here with you. There's, owning my own company also. Do all the bookkeeping. I do all the accounting. So the numbers are really not difficult to figure out. It's something that's almost second nature at this point. There's a lot of opportunity here that's just not being explored as far as how we can be out in the community. I have seen selectmen out at various events, but through my own experience, it was difficult to get them out during the school day to witness dismissal at Great Oaks and how certain things were affected in the winter. So just having the opportunity where I can be out there to be a part of the community is important to me.
Great, thank you, Tim. And Matthew, you are the last up for this question, so whenever you're ready, you can jump on in.
Sure. So during my introduction, I mentioned that I've been in the information technology field. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in management with a concentration MIS, and I have a master's degree from Bentley for computer information systems. I spent most of my career as a software engineer and as a project manager. So detail-oriented, follow the system development life cycle in terms of recognizing problems and developing solutions. And that's who I am. I'm a troubleshooter in all aspects of my life. And I mentioned that because oftentimes we have situations, be they financial or logistical, that really require some types of solutions, and we need to have choices in which one we actually choose. And it usually depends on finances. So I think that I'm one that can really dive into issues. I do that when I attend these meetings. Agenda items, I always research them before the meeting, so when I go, I can make comments if I think that perspective needs to be presented. Sometimes we like to think that the more viewpoints we have, the better the end result will be. So again, just someone that is focuses on the details, and we need that.
All right, thank you, Matthew. So I'm going to jump back over to Ethan from the Salem News, Ethan Foreman, to ask his second question. Ethan, whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Greg. I was talking with the town manager over the recent financial crisis. He gave me a proverb, which I'm going to butcher, which is you dig a well before you need it. Has the town done a good enough job in its fiscal management? Because now there's a drought given this pandemic, and I want you to get your thoughts on the town's fiscal management.
All right, Tim, you are up first for this one, so whenever you're ready.
I'm not sure a minute and a half is going to be enough for this one, but I'll give it a go. So I think that the town did some wonderful things in preparation. The last selectmen meeting was about an hour and a half on this topic alone. I think the town did a couple of things very early. We shut down the town 2 days before Governor Baker made the announcement in the state. I think that was huge in trying to make preventions as far as COVID goes and moving forward. The town has been pretty good with communicating things. But in the selectmen meeting that just happened, you noticed that there were a few issues that some people made some huge cuts, and some other departments weren't quite prepared to with the cuts that were necessary given the situation. As far as how the town did, it's yet to be seen yet at this point. That we still have a long ways to go before we're through this situation. We still don't know how the rollout of opening is going to go as far as the state will let us, and then how will we be going as a town. I did write a letter to the selectmen 2 meetings ago asking why we weren't seeing Board of Health meetings. I was at the Board of Health meeting right before COVID broke, and they were prepared. Mark Cavello, I'm sorry if I get his name wrong, but our director of health, he had announced that COVID was coming and that there was nothing we could do at the moment, that it was just a waiting game. So once COVID hit, the town took quick action ahead of the state, and I'm really happy as quick as they did that.
All right, thank you, Tim. So Matthew, you're going to be up next for this question, so you can jump in whenever you're ready.
Yeah, would you, Greg, would you please repeat the question?
Yeah, Ethan, if you don't mind, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question was, I was talking with the town manager, and he spoke about you dig a well before there is a drought. The idea is that you prepare ahead of time. So how is the
Right.
town doing with its financial management?
All right. So up through the February special town meeting where we had a AAA bond rating, we looked like we were in good shape. We did have some issues, I think, with overvaluating multifamily residences, and that resulted in increased tax bills. So that was probably the biggest issue. But now, when the selectmen talked about the budget this past Thursday, they seemed not optimistic, but they definitely were not in a doomsday mode. So they were projecting maybe a 10% decrease in property tax revenue. And I thought that that was maybe a little bit on the bright side, right? So, meaning that I think we're going to be hit with substantial state aid reductions. And I say that because in April, Mass DOR reported that their tax revenue from income tax and sales tax was down 50%. That was 2.3 billion. And I think May looks like it's going to be something similar. So we're talking, more than $5 billion shortfall. So the money that we get for Chapter 70 for our schools and for non-Cherry Street revenue, that's going to be down substantially. The unemployment rate here in Massachusetts at the beginning of this month was 25%. 25%.
Matthew, sorry, just you got to wrap it up pretty quick. Your time's up. But you can finish your thought. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right. I'll follow up later.
Still more chances. Okay, I just wanted to keep everyone on time. Thank you, Matthew. So we're going to jump over to Maureen next. Maureen, would you like to hear the question again, or are you ready to go?
And could you please repeat that question?
Yeah, the town manager would talk about you dig a well before there is a drought or before you need it. And in relation to the town's finances, how well prepared are they? What do you think about the town's financial management?
Okay, you're right. Dig the well, right? We're in very unusual times with what's going on. I think the town, the finance committee, the selectmen, the town manager's done a terrific job. No one has any predictions. Even in my line of work, people always say, geez, Maureen, what's the interest rate going to be? Is it going to be the lowest? We don't know. All we can do is try to prepare people. I do agree both with Tim and Matthew. We're going to have some tough times ahead. I'm not trying, I want to be optimistic. I think they were midline too, optimistic. But we are going to be losing a lot of state aid, I think. We're going to be taking some hits on, the meals tax, the excise tax, no late charge, charges on the bills. That's going to have an impact on our financials. As Matthew had said, the unemployment's down. I see that the banks are starting to tighten up in their lending. The PPP loan is almost running out of money again for the second round. Let's hope that they vote to give us a third round of money. But I think the management, town manager has a good grip, and all the committees have a good grip on our financials. We did have that terrific AAA bond rating right there. That's creditworthiness. That shows that the town over all these years has done extremely well, and we finally got that, which we're all very proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. So we're going to jump to the next question. Tim McCarthy from the Herald Citizen. Whenever you're ready, you can jump in with question number 4.
Yeah, sure. No, thank you all for your replies. And thank you again, Ethan, for having a good jump off point right here. Yeah, so right now, due to the current coronavirus pandemic and kind of the ensuing lockdown in this, undoubtedly many Danvers businesses will be on the ropes and, possibly swept away in the coming months. What do you sort of see the role of the selectmen and you by proxy and the town being in the face of like sustaining or creating a new Main Street or like business within Danvers? That new normal everybody throws around. What do you kind of see that being?
So Matthew, you're going to be first up with this question whenever you're ready.
Okay. I think when you say help them, I don't think we're going to be able to be in a position where the town can financially help these businesses. But as Tim mentioned, the health department can help them set the guidelines that, for example, restaurants and bars would need to follow in order to open up. So we're talking about fewer tables, distancing between groups of people. So the town can provide guidance like that. But we definitely want to do what we can, because otherwise the downtown is going to be like a wasteland. We see these, small businesses are not going to be able to survive, even though the federal government is giving out these loans. It's not sufficient. There's just a stopgap measure. But I do think the town can work in conjunction and provide assistance in terms of maybe grant writing or doing loan applications. We shouldn't leave the businesses just to defend for themselves, because they're part of our community, and so we should do what we can to help them out at this time.
All right, thank you, Matthew. So for the next question, next answer to this question, we'll have Maureen. Maureen, are you ready to go? Do you want to hear the question again?
Tim, can you repeat the question again, please?
Yeah, sure. And apologies here since freestyling a little bit at the beginning there. So due to kind of the coronavirus pandemic and the lockdown, many Danvers businesses are going to be on the ropes. What do you see the role of the selectmen in the town building, or in the town being, in the face of kind of sustaining or creating like a new Main Street in the new normal?
Yeah, it's like I said, I think it's going to take us a while. I think the businesses, we really need to help the businesses. If it were be, like Matthew had said, maybe through loans, through grants, maybe some fundraising, or reach out to the citizens, to the people that live in the town to, buy local. Please go in and support the restaurants. I think normal is going to take a while. I've also been on other committees where I've talked to other people in other areas, the surrounding communities, and maybe we make a small committee and brainstorm, all of us, maybe, the three of us, Nat, Tim, and myself, and some other people, get some more volunteers on how we can help these businesses, because, we want to keep the businesses alive, because these business owners are hopefully homeowners, and their children go to school here, and maybe even some of them work in the town. We want to help our own within.
Thank you, Maureen. Last up for this question will be Tim Donahue. Tim, if you're ready to go, go ahead. If you need to repeat the question, that's fine.
I'm good, and thanks, Tim, because I am a small business owner in Danvers. I have not only felt the impact of this economic disaster, but this is coming off an economic injury with no snow in 2020. So my business went almost 4 months without income, and that's very difficult for just about any business. As far as what the town can do, it's a little bit more limited. The town's not in the position to finance businesses like the federal government is. The town isn't in the position to act in ways that the federal government can financially. But what the town has done is it's provided resources. It's provided different tools online where we can go and research the things that we need. There were some great programs that were set up to keep employees paid, to be able to take out loans to survive this, and many small businesses have taken advantage of this. I would like to assist with the communication and give feedback for the direct effect that we have when it comes to small businesses. And the biggest issue I have at the moment is small businesses don't know what they can do right now. As of yesterday, I apologize, I've been working all day and haven't checked the news, but as of yesterday, there still wasn't clear-cut information on what businesses can open, what the restrictions would be, how we can move forward. And it's just an almost impossible situation trying to keep a business running without knowing what to do. So as a selectman, not that there's too much we can do from a financial aspect, from a town level though, open communication is the most important thing.
All right, thank you very much, Tim. We're going to move on to our next question with Ethan Foreman from the Salem News. Ethan, take it away.
Thanks, Greg. Maureen, you're a banker. Tim, you're a landscaper. Matt, you're an IT specialist, but you're also a town meeting member. And I want you to bring it down to a personal level. What stories are you hearing from residents about what they are going through in this pandemic? What is the human toll that you are seeing in this pandemic on Danvers residents?
Great. Thank you, Ethan. So for just a reminder for the order for this question, we'll start with Maureen, we'll jump over to Tim Donahue, and then Matthew Duggan, you will finish it up. So Maureen, you're up first.
Thank you, Ethan. What am I seeing? I'm hearing, being in the banking industry, it's very tough. Not only do I try to help people get into homes by helping them with the financing, I'm also on the other end hearing them, some of them cry, saying, you know, Maureen, I've lost my job. I can't do that refinance now that I was going to try to do, you know, to maybe consolidate some debt and save some money. The Danvers residents, you know, the businesses are being affected. I'm very nervous for people. The banks are offering forbearance agreements, which means that they don't have to pay their mortgages for 3 months. But, you know, I try to explain to them, it doesn't go away. It's at the end. They'll add it on to the end. And, you know, sometimes like people aren't well informed. They don't tell people the whole story where if someone does take that forbearance, they're going to have a hard time trying to refinance. So say they get their job again and they want to refinance to save that money, they can't. You know, banks aren't even going to look at them for a while. So I'm hearing residents in a state of panic, worried, which I think they should be. We all are. All I can say is I listen, I try to guide them, I try to calm them down. I found if you vote for me as a selectman, I want to be that. I want to listen to the people and listen to their concerns. And I'm like a problem solver. I'd like to figure out how can we help, and that's what we want to do. If we have to bring it to, you know, the town and committees, let's see how we can help people. But people are in a state of
Maureen,
panic.
sorry, I'm going to have you wrap up. You're just over time. Sorry about that. So thank you. So the next one for this question will be Tim Donahue. Whenever you're ready, Tim, you can jump in.
Absolutely. So what am I hearing from the town? So a lot of things, a lot of uneasiness, a lot of tension. There's a lot of people that are not comfortable in the situation they're in. They're not happy that they have to stay home, that they can't go out, that they're not sure they're going to be able to go on vacation this year. There's really a lot of nervousness about this situation. Again, and it's another difficult thing where we don't know how we're moving forward. We don't know when, we don't know what's opening up. I mean, you've got plenty of people that are saying they'd like to go get a haircut, and, you know, it's not an option. We don't know when it could be. As far as, you know, how the small businesses are doing in town, there's a lot of lost money. There's, you know, I heard the other day that the Berry Tavern has been knocking down walls and adding seating in preparation in case social distancing is required. I've talked to other landscaping companies and construction companies who are they're not sure what the best course of action is. You know, on one hand, you tell your employees to wear masks and you get one group yelling at you. On the other hand, you tell employees not to wear masks and you get the other group yelling at you. So it's a really difficult place to be. And because of all the tension, it's a lose-lose situation in most decisions that people are making at the moment. But, you know, we're strong. We're going to move forward. We're going to get through this. This isn't going to last forever. And we're going to be in a better place than we started, because that's what we do. That's what Danvers is about. We take what we want and we go for it. We make it happen.
All right, thank you, Tim. Last up for this question will be Matthew Duggan. So Matthew, whenever you're ready.
Sure. Thank you. So I think I hear and see the same things that everyone else does, that I have neighbors who are out of work and collecting unemployment if they're able to get that. People in general just, you know, locked in their homes. But I think the bigger impact is on the human psyche, right? So it's the fear of not knowing if the person that's walking down the sidewalk towards you is, you know, somehow contagious, or whatever. And I think a lot of this is due to the lack of leadership coming out of Washington, that we don't know if we should go to the supermarket and buy everything we can find, if that's suitable behavior, which it isn't. So I just think the even after things kind of return to normal, this is a kind of an impact that will last for a long time, not just on adults, but on the children that really can't grasp what it is that's going on. And hopefully that we're resilient enough where we can get past this. And maybe, a year or two down the road, maybe we'll see more cohesiveness in the local community, and just maybe in general throughout the U.S., because we sorely need that. But I think that's the biggest thing. It's the damage that you can't really see or quantify.
Thank you, Matthew. So thank you very much. The next question will be from Tim McCarthy from the Herald Citizen. Tim, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
Yeah, sure. No, and yeah, after all those happy questions on COVID right here, I got one here. I was just kind of curious. So right now, come November, and in the months that follow, the departure of current state rep Ted Spiliotis will create an interesting power dynamic and opportunity at the State House this year for Danvers and the rest of the district. How will you, as a selectman, work with a new representative, and what sort of relationship would you look to cultivate them with, both yourself and the board?
Great. So for this question, the order will be Tim Donahue, Matthew Duggan, and Maureen Bernard. So Tim, you are up.
So I'm not going to take a ton of time with this. So I know Bill Bates is running, and he is someone that I got to know probably 8 or 9 years ago when I put in a patio for him. And he was actually the one I found out from that Ted Spiliotis was stepping down. Ted was somebody who I've met with several times, mostly on licensing issues, whether it be CDL or the new Real ID or hoisting license or anything like that. We sat down, we talked, and just got on the same page about things. And that's really the most that I expect from the state reps. And whoever does get elected in this, good for them. I'd love to meet. As I said, I know Bill Bates. He lives right over by Smith School and is a local to us. But whoever does get elected, it's going to be a situation where it's as much as we can work together, that the better it's going to be. That's all I've got. I'd like to work with them.
All right, thank you, Tim. So next up for this question will be Matthew Duggan. So Matthew, I have successfully unmuted you, so whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
Sure. So one thing about Ted is that he's one of the longest serving state reps currently in the House. So that gives Danvers some powerful representation that we're going to lose. There's a number of candidates running. I believe there may be 5 or 6. I know Sally and Bill personally. They're both. Sally's on the finance committee now, but they're both town meeting members. And there were, I think Sally was a state rep before Ted was. I just think that either of those two people would make the best choice, I think. So that they know Danvers, and I'm sure they do a great job of representing us. That's really what I have.
All right, thank you, Matthew. So last up for this question will be Maureen. Maureen, when you're ready, you can go right on ahead. If you need the question repeated, that's always a possibility. So just
Okay.
let me know.
No, I'm fine. Ted Spiliotis, congratulations. I'm happy that he's put in a great many years of service, and he deserves to have a nice, healthy retirement. As for the other candidates, I too know both Bill. Well, I do know Bill and Sally, and I also know Chris. I know there's a couple more too. I'm looking, if I get elected as selectman, I'm looking to talk with them, get their views. What are they going to do for Danvers exactly? Mr. Spiliotis has had a great presence in the House, and that's good for Danvers. So I'd like to talk to each one of them once I'm elected, and share the, see what they have to say. That would be best for our town.
All right, thank you, Maureen. Next question will be from Ethan Foreman from the Salem News. Ethan, we unmute you, and whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
Thanks, Greg. I think I was muting myself and then unmuting. The issue of revenue to the town, finding new revenues. I know a couple of years ago, the town was looking at payment in lieu of taxes for their nonprofits. There's talk about renegotiating. They're going to renegotiate the Danvers electric payment in lieu of taxes that hasn't been changed since 1995. It doesn't have, this question isn't about pilots, but it's just about, in these times, how do you find more revenue for the town? It's not going to be pretty what's going to come out of the State House. Just a general question along those lines.
Thank you, Ethan. So for this question, the order will be Matthew Duggan, Maureen Bernard, and Tim Donahue. So Matthew, when you're ready, you can jump right on in.
Sure. So as far as Danvers Electric, I know they have a big war chest and transferring money out of that, and that's ratepayer money. Transferring that into general fund, I'm not sure that's really something that the residents would really go for. I think they'd rather see lower electric rates. So that may not be a source of quote revenue unquote. I'd like to see more type of development that's more appropriate, I think, for especially the downtown area. So town meeting just passed a character-based zoning, which allows mixed use. So the Maple Street, High Street corridor that was part of that goes right through the center of Precinct 1. And that allows commercial on first floor and then residential above. We like to see more of that type of development rather than these huge projects like what's proposed at 141 Pine Street. That's not allowed by right. I'm also thinking that with the big stores moving out of the malls, I'd like to see some of the parking lots at the mall maybe be converted into housing, sort of what they're planning up at the North Shore Mall. That's a nice source of revenue, I think, from a property tax perspective. So I think the town really needs to be a little bit more looking into the future about what they can do to promote that type of growth, rather than just knocking down small houses and building multi-family monstrosity. That's not the right way to generate additional revenue.
Sorry to interrupt you, but thank you, Matthew. You're out of time. But we'll have one more question, certainly, and you have your closing. But Maureen, you're up next for this question. So Maureen, whenever you're ready.
Okay. I also agree. I've attended the mixed-use town workshop, on the Saturdays to see the development in Danvers Square. I mean, we know Danvers Square needs a facelift, if we want to call it that. I love seeing businesses with apartments or maybe even condos would be nice, so that when people do live in the town, they're going to support the businesses, walk around, spend money. Keep it local. Let's buy local. I think that's what I really would like to work on. If I become your selectman, I want to see how we can generate some more revenue that way. I also like the idea of maybe, like Matthew said, with the housing. If you look at, like what Cummings did, over in Beverly, the condos there right in the parking lot, live, work, and play. Something like that. I'd like to see around town instead of, big developments. I mean, we do still need developing, though, but we do want to also keep development under control.
All right, thank you, Maureen. Last up for this question will be Tim Donahue. So Tim, you are unmuted. So whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
Thank you. So me personally, I'd rather not see revenue increase too much. Revenue comes from primarily taxes, and taxes affect all of us. whether it's a young couple starting out, trying to figure out how to buy a home and pay their taxes, whether it's a senior retiring, trying to live on a fixed income. Tax increases can be extremely impactful to families in Danvers, as well as businesses. So if we were to say take away the tax revenue at the mall and turn that into housing, if not done properly, that could decrease tax revenue to the town. So we really have to be careful. We have to look at all aspects of it, find out what we can increase without having huge effects on those who can't afford it. That's really about it. I really think we need to moderate what we do, especially in a time of impact injury, of what we can increase without causing people to lose their homes, people to go without eating, people to not be able to do things that they want with their kids. But on the other side of things is we do have some wonderful amenities in this town. We have great sports programs, we have amazing parks, and upkeep and continuation of these programs is important because that also saves families money. It also gives them a place to go, and it also gives them things to do. So it's a really difficult question to answer, but personally, I'd rather see it stay more flat than increase.
All right, thank you, Tim. So we're going to move on to Tim McCarthy from the Herald Citizen. Tim, this will be the last question before we move to the candidate's closing statement, just to make sure we have enough time for everyone. So Tim, if you could take it away. Oh, looks like you're muted or your audio is not coming through. So
Yeah, about that.
Oh, there we go. Thanks.
5 different mutes. Nobody can silence me. One of the things I was just sort of curious about right here, kind of following up from there, was if you were elected to the Board of Selectmen, and you're obviously going to make votes, you're going to like help shape policy, you're going to help develop things with the other members of the select board and the town and what have you, especially the town meeting that's going to get the final yay nay. What do you sort of personally see as like a 10-year vision for the town, and how do you see your views and votes kind of working to shape that? You all sort of got into a little bit of it in terms of like what sorts of developments you want to see, but what's kind of your vision for Danvers? I mean, it's 2020 now, even though it doesn't feel like it, sort of feels like we stalled out. But where do you see us going in the next decade, and how would you like to contribute to that?
Thank you, Tim. So the order for this one will be Maureen, Tim, and Matthew. So Maureen, you are up first.
Okay, let's see, vision for the next 10 years. What I want to see if I'm elected as your selectman is I want to see affordable housing. I want to see development. I do want to see our schools be rated, one of the top schools, if you want to call it a blue ribbon school. I want to see the kids get the services, the young kids in the schools get the services and the supplies that they do need. I want to see the town keep the nice footprint that we are, the density of the town, the beautiful parks, the Endicott Park. I want to see us continue having that rural urban town feel. I don't want it to become a city, because as our numbers are increasing, I think we all have to work hard at this. Everybody wants housing. We want to keep our taxes good. We want to have the best police, the best fire, which we already do have, and thank you to all the town workers. But that's what I want in the next 10 years. I want it to stay the same. It has to grow, but I want it to preserve the nice, warm family community that we all feel and that we all love, and what keeps us here in Danvers.
Thank you, Maureen. Tim, you are up next for this question. So whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
Thank you. So 10-year vision for the town. If it stayed the same, I'd be happy. I have no problems with the town, how it's run, how things are going. I love it here. About 5 years ago, we donated our spruce tree to the town for the Christmas tree. And downtown with my family, Santa riding in on the fire truck, flipping the lights on. I mean, the pictures from that is a picturesque, perfect small town. And I really love that. I think that the expansion that was passed Making the 2-story with the third story setback downtown is going to keep that view while allowing us to have the small businesses and the residential condos or apartments down there. I like what's going on at the old baby shoe factory. I think it's going to help move forward, and seeing more of that would be nice. So while preserving some of the historic buildings in town, which we have a lot of, also moving forward and growing, because staying the same isn't the best thing, but I would hate to lose the feel we have here, where I can walk next door and have a beer with my neighbor who's become my best friend over the years, where I can, go across the street and talk to other people, where I can go hang out with family and friends down at the park, or go launch the boat and head out the river and turn around and come right back because it's a nice little cruise. This is a great town. It's a perfect place to live. It's a perfect place to raise a family, and I'd really hate for that to change.
All right, thank you, Tim. Matthew, you are the last one for this question, and whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
Sure, 10-year vision. So I mentioned earlier that I've been involved with the rail trail for 18 years, and we're currently in design phase for an extension from the train station by Fish Market out to Middleton. And that will take probably 10 years, considering the challenges getting through the I-95 corridor. But I think that will really open up the western part of town and allow people to come into the downtown, patronize the businesses there, make it more conducive and safer rather than having to get in your car. We're totally auto-centric. It seems we're surrounded by highways. We have tens of thousands of vehicles go through the town on all the different highways every day, and it doesn't contribute to our quality of life. Also, I mentioned the multi-use projects where you have commercial and residential above, so people can live and work in Danvers. They don't need to get in their car and get on the highway. Another project that's in the works is bringing a train back to Danvers. Currently, there are plans to bring a light rail from Salem Depot into Peabody Square, and we could extend that right into Purchase Street by Walgreens and allow people to be able to get to commuter rail without having to drive to Salem. These are all projects that are on people's radar. It's just the funding that will be a challenge now that we know anything that we're thinking is just down the road is really well beyond that. So I think that we need to make it easier to, like I say, live and work. We need to make it safer to walk and bike in Danvers.
Thank you, Matthew. I'm going to cut you off. You're a little bit over, but you'll have your closing statement. You can continue your thought if you want to, because we're actually going to move into the final portion of the forum tonight, which will be the candidates' closing statements. So the order for the closing statements will be Tim Donahue, you'll be first, followed by Matthew Duggan and Maureen Bernard. And then I'll ask you to hang on for a couple more minutes while I close out the program. But Tim, I am ready. If you want to go ahead, you have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you, Danvers, for letting me run. I'm very happy that I made the decision to represent you. I'd like to represent all of you, from seniors to school children. It's really, I love this town. I love everything about it. It's my daughter's 9th birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Ava. And I'm excited to see the community come out and support it. Yesterday, we had a big birthday parade where a bunch of people came by, and tomorrow the police department's going to stop by, and she doesn't know it yet, so I hope she's not watching this. But it's really, this is a tough time. It's absolutely brutal for school children, seniors graduating. It's tough for business owners. It's both small and big. This affects big business too. And this is just a really, really rough, it's a disaster. It's an economic disaster is what they're calling it, as well as a pandemic. So we'll get through this. It's not gonna hurt us. The town will survive. We're making great plans. And the reactions to this should be survivable. We shouldn't have a problem getting through this as a town. If elected, I really hope that I can serve you the best you can. I'm happy to come out and talk to anybody at any time. So long as I've got a little bit of notice, 99% of the time I can change my schedule to come and see you. So if given the opportunity, I would love to represent you. I'd love to be what you'd like for this town. So anybody has any questions, please feel free to follow up. I'm very easy to find online. That's all I've got. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Danvers. Have a great night.
All right, thank you, Tim. Next up for their closing statement will be Matthew Duggan. Matthew, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
Okay. So I've been honored to serve as a town meeting member for the past 14 years, and I'm asking for your support when you go to the polls on Tuesday, June 2nd. So for the past hour, we've been talking about the challenges currently facing our community and how we all need to work together in a thoughtful and collaborative manner to address these challenges. Our current board of selectmen have been working to ensure that the COVID-19 impact has been minimized to the extent possible. And if elected, I pledge to continue that collaborative and collective approach. That working together as a community, we can restore the normalcy that each of us crave to bring back the great vibrancy of our downtowns, our neighborhoods, and in our schools. And Danvers knows how to work together for the common good. We may debate the best way to solve a problem, but we always do so with the best interests of Danvers in mind. And Danvers has an exciting past, we all acknowledge that, but we have a even more exciting future. And we know how to work together to get there, to the common good. So in terms of our selectmen, and that's who we're talking about, the selectmen are our local leaders, and we look to them to provide a vision for the future of Danvers, where rush hour traffic from other communities doesn't clog our streets, where residential development doesn't create so much density that we look like a city, where we provide the affordable housing so young families and our seniors who may have spent their entire lives here can continue to do so, where we support our local businesses throughout town to ensure that they thrive and expand, and where our schools' MCAS test scores show improvement year over year, not stuck in mediocrity. So I believe I have the experience, the dedication, the enthusiasm, and the commitment to deliver these types of results for the people of Danvers. So I ask for your vote so that together we continue to make this town of Danvers a great place to live and work. Thank you,
All right.
Danvers. Good night.
Thank you, Matthew. Maureen, you're last up for the evening. Thank you for your patience, and you have 2 minutes starting.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be a candidate for you for selectmen. As I've said, I have strong ties to this community. I want to preserve this town as the town we love, keep our children and the town employees safe, keep Danvers affordable, where the young families can live and work, like we all say, and we all share the same thoughts. I hope someday that it stays that way, that my granddaughters can afford a house here in Danvers and live and work in the town community. I ask that we all try, that we all stay involved, we all volunteer as much as we can. Everybody's lives are busy, but as your elected officials, we want to know your concerns or anything we can do to keep Danvers the best town in this area, because it is our town. And we have so much to offer. I deal with a lot of surrounding communities, and this is the best town. I never want to leave. I want to be a voice for you. I want to work my hardest for you. And let's all work together, like I said, to make it all the best town to live in. And it will be thanks to all of you. So I would appreciate your vote on June 2nd. The polls, they've shot in the times from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I wish everybody luck. And thank you very much for hosting this, Greg and Tim and Ethan.
All right, thank you, Maureen. So I'm just going to wrap it up really quick. First of all, thank you so much to the candidates, Maureen, Tim, and Matthew, for coming on. I know this is a little bit different than everyone is used to, but we're in a different world right now. I'd also like to thank Tim McCarthy from the Herald Citizen, Ethan Foreman from the Salem News so much for coming on with the questions. Really great questions. I hope everyone leaves tonight with a little bit better sense of who these people are, who the candidates are, what their platforms are, and so you can make an informed vote coming up on Election Day, which is June 2nd. I ask you to continue to follow DCAT for election results. We'll have the election results that night when they come out. And I'd also like to thank behind the scenes the people you can't see who are making it a lot more seamless than it would be, Ben Thomas and David Rodriguez. So thank you to those two. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and have a great night.